Hannah Murray on TRE in the afternoon.
Good afternoon. Joining us on the line now is Nikki Steele Osborne. She's an award-winning maternal mental health coach and founder of the Scottish Soul Sister, supporting parents to gain the confidence and clarity to cut through the noise and overwhelm to raise their family on their own terms. Her book, Homebird, is a messy, real, funny and ever-evolving account of the decisions she made, the chances she took and the lessons she learnt along the way. Welcome to the show, Nikki.
Thank you for having me, Hannah. It's nice to be here.
It's a pleasure. It's really great to chat with you. So I have to ask you about your story, first of all. I know that you were trying to conceive for almost 3 years. And when you fell pregnant in 2016, it was obviously an extremely thankful and happy time. But you suffered quite a bit with postnatal depression, and it kind of shocked you how emotional you were when you were so happy.
Yes, it completely blindsided me. And I guess because it wasn't anticipated, all that time of trying to get pregnant. By the time I did fall pregnant, I was 40, so we knew that time was a sensitive issue. So it was like winning the lottery. When I found out I was pregnant, I was in my in-laws' house in Buffalo, New York, with my mother and father-in-law, my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, their 2 children. There was 3 dogs. So it was quite a moment, and we had to tell them because immediately I stopped drinking wine. So we had to share the news. And I think because we, were expecting this to be our missing piece, I just didn't anticipate postpartum depression or anxiety. I think, if anything, I really believed that was my answer to any previous episodes, because I thought, right, well, this is the missing link now.
Yeah. So
I've nothing to be sad about or stressed about. And the body does funny things and our minds play tricks on us, So when you were experiencing all of this, did you feel like it was a kind of hormonal thing, or did you know what you were sad about? Were you sad about particular things, for example? No, I think I was angry because I was feeling the way I was feeling, and it was very difficult to acknowledge it and say it out loud. And because it's not linear, it comes and goes, so there were great times as well. Those first 18 months weren't all dark, but when that darkness kicked in, it was all consuming. So sometimes I thought, this is hormonal and it's passing, it's going to be okay. I couldn't pinpoint or identify what was causing it. But all I knew was that I had gotten into this spiral of then being angry with myself for not showing up as the mum I wanted to be. And when I went on to Dr. Google, as we all do, a lot of the symptoms I saw were things like not connecting with your baby or not bonding. And I was thinking, well, that's not the case for me. If anything, I was so in love with my little boy, I felt like I wasn't good enough. Mm-hmm. And therein lies, the indication that actually those things had existed before for me in my mind. Those were things that needed to be visited. I just didn't know how, where, why, when to do that. And that's why now I'm so about talking to people when they're pregnant or when they're expecting to bring a child in, whether they're fostering or, adopting, any family dynamic that is going to shift by a new little one coming into it. It's looking at the ways that we can support ourselves and understanding ourselves better.
Yeah.
It has been the key for me.
Yeah, I suppose you just, not that you did, of course, but you just can't underestimate what a big impact having a child into your life and into your home can have on your life and your relationship and your work and your friendships and everything else. Just the idea of being so desperate to be a mum and desperate to bring a child into the world. It's just all positive. But when it happens, it can bring a lot of stress, and you don't want to have that stress because you want to just be there for your baby the whole time, which adds more stress, I guess. It must be very difficult.
Yeah. And because, we're told, aren't we, from such a young age, it's the most natural thing in the world, having a child. And in some ways, yes, it is. But it also brings a lot of decisions that you have to make. And we are in a different world to perhaps 25 years ago. There are different things that have to be brought into consideration, such as having the internet. I remember before the internet, I'm 50 this month. So I remember before that, and I think a lot of us are in this generation, we're right in the middle, so where, and I think the internet is demonised. I think often people say off social media, but actually it can also bring resources, education, community. So I think two things can be true at once.
Yeah.
But it also can bring the comparisons and the thinking what you should do based on someone you see on Instagram. So all of those things contribute. And that's why I always say you've got to figure out you, because we're all unique as to how we show up every day,
And how did you get through it? Were you able to talk about it with your loved ones, or did you have a therapist, or what helped you?
I ended up having all the things. Did all the things after 18 months. So, part of it as well was that at the time when my son was born, we were living in Montenegro. So I didn't have proximity to my own family and friends in Scotland, which meant I was able to mask it more. I would jump on a Zoom call like this and I would be, I'm tired, but I'm okay. And I wasn't okay. And I think had we been in closer proximity, they would have picked up on that much quicker. And because we had times where it was getting better, my husband and I would look at each other and go, okay, no, we're okay, we're getting there. And eventually what happened was a good friend of mine said, look, I have a counsellor in the UK, she does Zoom calls, why not have a chat? So I arranged that call, and I honestly thought that woman was going to resign the next day after talking to me because she just got 18 months worth. But of course what she did was she gave me a safe space to be transparent and honest about how I was feeling without worrying about burdening her like I might be about my family or friends. There was no judgment. There was, so this was the starting point for me, was just saying it out loud and giving oxygen to what was going on. She emailed the next day and she had read between the lines and obviously had that perspective, so she was able to identify things that I could explore. The second thing was going to the GP, and it's the first thing I always say in a consultation is please check in with your healthcare providers. He was wonderful. I did go on medication. Him and I are still Facebook friends now. I think it's lovely that he follows what has happened since, and it's so nice.
That's lovely.
So I took medication I think I took it for a year, and then I spent the next year slowly coming off of the medication. And the third thing was going to a 2-day retreat that a friend of mine was hosting, and she was a life coach. And I was a complete cynic. I used to always say, what life coach, what's that? I'm very practical, very Scottish, I guess. But actually it was wonderful. And so those three things combined just took me to a space, and I'll never ever forget that pivotal moment, sitting by the water. My son was sleeping in his buggy, and I just felt like I remembered to breathe. It was like that first little glimpse of hope that I wasn't going to stay in that headspace permanently. And I went home that day and said to my husband, I think I want to be one of those coach things. And that was it. That was where it all started.
Oh, how amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm always very clear that it's not a destination. It's not linear. It's not a solution. Everything that I do is about providing a support system, for each of us. And I still have to lean into it. I still have to support my own mental health because the world is a bit crazy, right?
Yeah.
And things happen.
Yeah.
So I still utilise those same things. I practice what I preach, if you like.
Yeah. Well, the fascinating thing about life coaches and therapists, psychologists, a lot of people that go down that field, have been through something themselves, which has inspired them to want to go on and help other people. And I think that's great. I think that really adds something to it. So when you're speaking to someone who's qualified in all these different things, they can, they know what they're talking about, A, because they've studied it, but B, because they've also been through something pretty major themselves.
Yeah, when I studied, I did a diploma in postnatal depression awareness, and I always laugh because I'm like, I was pretty aware. I'm not sure there was much that they could tell me. But of course, I wanted to back it up with the education, because I think you're right. Education and lived experience combined can be really powerful.
Yeah.
Because you do have that empathy. You do understand perhaps where someone is coming from.
Definitely. Definitely. So what do you do then as the Scottish Soul Sister? Well, I guess every day must be different, but what's your sort of primary role?
So it started with coaching. That was the initial. I want to meet families and be able to talk, provide a safe space for them to talk. And then I realised that that's a wonderful theory, and I still do coaching sessions, but like myself, I didn't actually verbally say I need support. So talking was pretty tricky. So then I decided, okay, how can I reach and help people with the things I've learned, but without them having to talk to me? And that's when I created Stepping Into Parenthood, which is a self-paced digital resource. I lead you into the spaces, but then you work on the worksheets and things based on your dynamics and your family. And it's just so that you understand yourselves a bit better to make those decisions that you're going to make as a parent. And then, of course, the idea for the book came along because I thought I want people to understand my story, where this all came from. And living overseas for the last 19 years brings different experiences to what I'm doing now as well. I've seen different cultures and languages, and so you're seeing the world through different eyes. So that's when I wrote Homeward. So a lot of what I'm doing, I do a lot of speaking, for other people's memberships. Perhaps they've got a parent group. I did a lot of stage stuff when I was in Dubai. I was living there for a while. We were 4 years in Dubai. And then a lot of it is online because it's accessible then. You can come in your pyjamas. You don't have to, especially when you're a new parent. The best intentions in the world of coming out and meeting someone somewhere don't always happen. So I wanted it to be online so that they could just come in their pyjamas. There's no pressure.
Yeah. And why Homebird? I assume because you are one.
I really am. And it's such a contradiction. I was supposed to go to New Zealand for 6 months. That was it. Then I was going back to Scotland. And that was 19 years, 4 countries, 2 businesses, a husband, a son and a dog ago.
Wow.
But I very am still a homebird. But my husband is American. And that's why I've not just returned to Scotland. Our path has led us where now we're in Belgium. And that was intentional to give me proximity to Scotland. It's a bit closer for me. Yeah. But I am by heart very much a homebird, So, yeah, it just made sense.
And living abroad as an expat, which obviously I do as well in Spain, brings its own challenges, when you're going through the medical system and particularly bringing a new life into the world, the language barrier that can happen and all that kind of thing. And, speaking to people in your home country and saying, oh, this is what happens. And you can be like, well, it doesn't happen in this country. It's a whole lot of other things to think about and bring on anxiety.
Yeah. And it's, I think sometimes people at home, I'm sure you've experienced this, where they just think we're out at the beach or having brunch all the time.
Drinking cocktails by the sea every day.
You're like, I still have to do my hoovering and my washing and,
exactly.
Get the shopping in. So yes, it does bring, and that is the thing. Like I said earlier, there's always, 2 truths can exist at the same time. So yes, these opportunities to live in a different country and to see different places is amazing. To have that diversity, especially for my son. But it can also be isolating. It can be, challenging when you're going through the bureaucracy, trying to figure out things like a driving licence or, working. getting visas to make sure that you can work there legally. So you're right, it brings a lot of different things to the plate. And I guess they build resilience. I'm going to say that now, but there's been times when it's not been feeling very resilient. But, we are now pretty settled here, and we've got all our boxes ticked and businesses set up and such like. So it definitely is getting easier.
Yeah. And how old's your son now? How's he enjoying growing up in different countries?
So he's 8, he'll be 9 in August, and he's loved it. So he used to say he was from Montenegro. He was actually born in Scotland. Okay. And I feel like, as time goes on, he's identifying with that way more. At the moment, whenever we're in the car, he's playing the Proclaimers. And I know I should be more passionate about that, but I've never liked the Proclaimers music. And
there's only so many times you can hear 500 miles.
Well, it's a lot because he's playing it on repeat. What's the other one about getting married? Let's get married. So we're getting a lot of Proclaimers just now. And he does always say he wants to live in Scotland.
Oh, that's sweet.
But at the same time, we're fortunate because my husband works in the school. So he has that safety net. And I guess the biggest transition was when we left Dubai and came to Belgium based on his age. He already was in school, he had some friends, but he transitioned really easily. And here, he's great. He's loving it. We've just got him a membership for the golf course. My husband doesn't have a membership, but my son does.
Brilliant.
So no, he's good. But if you asked him, then yeah, he would want to live in Scotland. So it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's, I love that he's got friends from all over the world. It's an international school, Definitely. So there's like a Canadian, there's a wee boy from Turkey, there's one who's Russian, one from Iceland. I love that he gets to experience that,
Definitely. Oh, so nice. Well, if people want to get a copy of your book, Homebird, it's available on our website. They can also look you up as the Scottish Soul Sister. And the book is by Nikki, Steele, Osborne, who we've been chatting with today. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Hannah. It was lovely, darling.
This is Talk Radio Europe. Online at tre.radio.